Hi and welcome to Unprecedented TV. I'm Claire Dyer and this is Dyer Consequences. We are a relatively new channel here to give you the truth as we see it, which you will not find on mainstream media. So please do like, share, and more importantly, subscribe so we can continue to reach you, the people. Today, I will be talking to somebody who has been in what you would call the movement for some time now, but has been awake for many, many years. 6 years ago, many more people started asking questions that weren't welcome in the mainstream spaces. Questions about power, control, freedom, and the direction in which the world was heading. What followed was labelled a movement by some, a threat by others, and dismissed outright by many people. But regardless of labels, it changed lives, but it fractured friendships, families, and it reshaped how people saw and see authority, truth, and each other. Today, I will be joined by someone who has been deeply embedded in that space since the early days and actually beyond, Michael Chaves, also known as Mad Mick from Mad Mick's Conspiracies, and a lot of people will know who Mick is. He has been a visible voice in what became known as the Freedom Movement or Truther Movement, documenting, questioning and challenging narratives as events unfolded in real time. This isn't about reopening the old debates and pushing slogans. It's about taking stock. Where does the so-called agenda stand today? What's actually changed and what hasn't? And perhaps most importantly, how does it feel to look back 6 years later with the benefit of hindsight, experience, and also scars? This is a conversation about reality, about conviction, consequences, and clarity. So I want to welcome to the show Michael Mad Mick, as we all know him and love him or hate him. I mean, you're like Marmite, aren't you?
Oh yeah, very much so, very much so. Hated at the moment by a lot of people, but you know, you make your bed, you have to lay in it.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I think a lot of people are kind of feeling the same way at the moment. And, you know, I've watched some of your videos just recently and you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
You know what, Claire? I took a few weeks off from making videos. Me and you lost, but I came on your show a few months ago, I think it was.
Oh, I seem to have lost you. You've frozen. Sorry, you froze there for
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You said you were on the show a few months ago and then I lost you.
Oh, and since then I took a few weeks off making videos. I went a little bit quiet. I've been very disillusioned with what is the so-called movement, for want of a better term. What I like to call us is anti-vaxxers. I know that term upsets a lot of people, but the absolute truth of the matter is the only one thing, Claire, that we all have in common is that we didn't partake in the vaccine. And and that's pretty much it, because the rest of it, we're not the same. We're not friends. We're not people we would have associated with before 2020. Like me and you would never have met.
Yeah.
Me and my partner Lorraine would never have met. You know, we're people that were thrown together during what was a very trying time for the country, and well, for the world, to be fair. And we were thrown together, and we thought that we were one team. We thought that we were united. And then what happens, as you know, with all, and it is a war. It was a war between good and evil as we saw it. And with all wars, you have spies, you have infiltrators, and you need to control the opposition. You know, we're trying to get people in Parliament. They're trying to infiltrate the movement, or the truth movement. And the whole thing, I realized that we're not the same, Claire. We don't think the same. Me and you, we have different agendas. We have different motivations. You know, we've come to disagreements ourselves, haven't we, over the last little while? And for me, it seems to be happening more and more. You know, it seems to be happening particularly for me with the George Cross. the George Cross back in the old days, it represented being proud to be British. But then come 2020, people stopped being proud to be British. We were very angry at being British. We were angry at the government. We were angry at the whole world. And a lot of people took their George Crosses down until all of a sudden, one of the refugees in Epping was accused of sexual offences. And now the mainstream media and social media are telling people to put George Crosses up. And I see it completely different from a lot of people say, oh, no, I'm being patriotic. I'm like, well, you weren't being patriotic last year or the year before. Why are you being patriotic now? You know, because you're being told to. You're being manipulated by social media. And it's that manipulation, Claire, that sent me completely mental and forced me to take some time out, which I did do. I'm going to pause in a minute so you can get a word in, which I did do. But then I came back, and then before I know it, we've got the marches again in London, and obviously it's the usual suspects, and that sent me off the edge again. So hence my videos lately have been me ranting like a man possessed.
Well, I was going to say, it is very true. I mean, I think initially at the beginning, there was like two sides, and we all had the one common goal that we could see through COVID. We really didn't want people to obviously get the jab, and we all came together based just on that. And that was what most people's kind of conviction was, to try and reach as many people. So you kind of, because that's where you started, really, wasn't
Absolutely.
it? And so we all kind of met at these stand in the parks, which are absolutely everywhere, all over the country. I mean, I could have taken my pick probably of about 6 local to me. That's just how many there are near me, which obviously they originated in Australia during lockdowns. Because, do you know, even to this day, a lot of people have still not heard about Stand in the Park, because I think what's happening over the years is more and more people are waking up, but weren't there, say, at the beginning. So it kind of really started for most people was these Stand in the Parks, where, as you said, the most unlikeliest of people came together. And even our Stand in the Park, I looked at people and there was never in a million years we would probably even have one conversation, let alone at that time become friends. But we all thought, yeah, we're a family. And at that time, we were outcasts massively. You know, so those were the people that we gravitated to. You went on to, I believe, wasn't it? You were protesting outside vaccination centres, weren't you? And obviously going to schools as well to try and stop basically people and children from being injected. And you kind of went from there, didn't you?
Yeah, we like. I want to get this clear. Because some people might misinterpret that. If a grown-ass adult, if a grown person wants to go and get some medical intervention, then crack on, right? Let them do it. I never went to vaccine centres protesting until the government announced that they were now going to inject pregnant women.
Yeah. And
then that's when my blood started to boil, because that unborn baby didn't have a choice of what medication his parent was taking, and that danger, like pregnant women don't take medication. That's just the way life is. You know, you've had children yourself. You know, you always advised to avoid medication. And when they started forcing an untested product onto pregnant women, I felt the need to go to vaccine centres and try and educate any pregnant women that were going towards the vaccine centre on possible dangers and possible side effects. And then they started on the children in schools. Like the government's body, the JCVI advised the British government not to inject children. It wasn't worth of any benefit to inject anyone under the age of 18. And that was cool, and I was all right with that until they decided to ignore that advice from the JCVI and started injecting children. And that's when I started going to vaccine centres that were injecting children and schools, because again, the children don't have a choice. They're doing what they're told. If a grown adult wants to make that mistake and ruin their lives, but some of these kids could have ended up infertile, they could have ended up dead. There was sudden they call it sudden adult death syndrome, a new thing that turned up.
Yeah.
And children were dying on their way to school, Claire, for no reason. And we had never heard of this happening before.
Yeah,
and that's why I felt the need to go to schools and vaccine centres to try and educate people as to the possible risks of taking an untested product.
I mean, they started normalising myocarditis and pericarditis in children as well, and that was being advertised everywhere. And you know, you just think there was that was not happening before, and you think people got really short memories that they don't remember, and they all of a sudden they're believing everything that they're being told. And yeah, I agree. I think that's when people felt really, really strongly about it, because you could see the potential damage that it was going to do and what it was doing. This is a clip that I think has been put up. We can't hear the sound, which we will need to hear the sound. This was this is your experience of Antifa.
Antifa.
I don't know if you know this, because I believe there is some sound footage to this, isn't there?
Yeah, lots of swearing, shouting across the police barricade at each other.
Yeah, I can't remember what was said here.
This one girl was screaming at me because I kept calling her a girl. And she's like, I'm not a girl, I'm a man. I was laughing.
and I think you said in this that they had actually incited violence against you, hadn't they?
Oh, all the time. When we did the libraries, again, we did the libraries because, you know, they were bringing transvestites into children's spaces. And we started protesting the libraries. But Antifa took it, and the LGBTQ took it as an attack on them. And I'm like, it's not an attack on you. I don't care how you choose to live your lives. What I care is adult sexual entertainment being brought into children's schools. That's what bothered me, and that's why I was protesting. But these Antifa lot, they took it personal. And every single time they turned up at a library, they incited violence. They were doing violence upon us. We were a load of middle-aged people. They were doing violence upon us. And invariably, they were getting arrested. Like every library we went to, Antifa were getting arrested. Because these kids, they couldn't control themselves, you see. They didn't have the fortitude to be able to control their emotions. And they were just screaming and saw what we were doing as a personal attack on them. And I'm like, how is not wanting a transvestite reading stories to children the same as being homophobic? It's not.
That was the first time I actually realised that these people were busting. I mean, now I've come across my own stand up to racism and Antifa. But when I saw the libraries, they were literally being put on a bus with a handler and then taken on to the next one, weren't they? And so on and so on. And now I can sit here now. Is it 3 years down the line from that? Is it 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, it's got to be 3 years, yeah.
And now I'm like, they're all the same people.
Yeah, they're still doing it. They're still doing it. It's and again, you know, I'm going to go on to that, me being a miserable person. That's how protests work, right, Claire? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a racist. I'm not homophobic. I'm not a bigot in any way, in my opinion. But the whole Black Lives Matter, Extinction Rebellion, Antifa, Free Palestine, these marches are all controlled. The anti-vax march, the Digit YD march, every big march that goes on is controlled, and this is what they've done. And people like George Soros was funding them at the beginning, and we knew it was someone like him. But people don't want to believe. People on our side now, people that chose not to take the medical intervention, don't want to believe that their leaders are part of the same people. They may as well just call themselves Antifa. Like, you know, you guys did the hotels. You've got people bust in on your side, people bust in on the other side. Like, I know for an absolute fact that the people at the Epping Hotel at the beginning was locals. But
100%.
later on, people were being bussed in from all over the place. And the same with Antifa. And now you've got two sides stood there arguing with each other for the BBC. And none of them are the locals. None of them are the ones who have got an issue. It's all part of the narrative of, and I saw your videos, I saw some of your lives from the hotels, and you could see yourself that this whole thing was being manipulated by the people in charge.
That's why I went, because I have always said I don't believe in protesting. I believed back in the early days it worked, because you could then visually see just how many people were standing up to things. Obviously, it was being done during lockdowns as well, so they were 100% at that time not allowed, and obviously the people that were kind of doing it within the parks. But over time, you can see, and that's why I went and covered the hotels, because I wanted people to see that it was almost scripted. It was set up,
absolutely,
to create the scene that they needed, whether that was by the police, the government, or the mainstream media. And that's what I wanted to highlight to people, that really we're kind of falling into a trap. We are going to go to a quick break, and we will be back in a minute. And we're just going to take a look at Tim Scott with Uncancelled. Tim Scott Uncancelled. And that is Tim Scott Uncancelled, and you will catch him here on Unprecedented TV. He has a great show here, and I'm talking to Mick. What I wanted to say, so going back to obviously the vaccines, you're very sarcastic, and that's how your approach is. You take the Mickey. You were very sarcastic, and you found yourself getting into a bit of music, didn't you?
Yeah, it's quite amazing. By pure fluke, you know, I don't profess to be a singer by any stretch of the imagination. But back in those days, at Yellow Boards on the roundabout, met a music producer, Martin. I might have said this in my last video, last time I was on with you. Martin Noakes was a music producer. He was also an anti-vaxxer. He is an anti-vaxxer. And the great thing about Martin, which is why me and him are such good friends, is he's a long-time conspiracy theorist. So he's been in this as long as me, if not longer. And that was, so we had a lot in common. And he just used clips from my videos in a song called Killer COVID. Killer COVID.
If the studio can pull up, hopefully we have a video of the first section of Killer COVID, because that actually did really well, didn't it?
It got to number 26 in the charts before they realised what it was.
Michael Chaves on the mic. Yeah. Killer COVID. Killer COVID. Here's the thing, guys. At the same time, they're trying to sell me and you our first injection, whilst they're saying, oh yeah, you'll have your first and your second, but they'll not work. So you'll need your third, and then your fourth, and then your fifth, and then your sixth.
It doesn't protect you against catching the disease, and it doesn't protect you against passing it on.
Ah, fuck that. I'm not getting that. Killer COVID. Killer COVID. Killer COVID. Killer COVID. Killer COVID. The one.
Can I be honest with you about something here?
Yeah, go on.
When I first heard that song, I absolutely hated it. Do you know what? I thought it was absolutely brilliant, because I remember back in the day watching your videos, and they were hilarious because of your sarcasm. But at the same time, you were pointing out the facts. Oh, and by the way, Lembit said he loves it as well, by the way. He needs to listen to it.
Cheers.
And in 432 frequency as well, recorded at 432 frequency. But anyway, and when I saw that come out, I was thought, do you know what? That's actually really clever. I mean, you can't sing at all, but it was the way he took so many of your videos and things that you had said. And I was thinking, I remember watching that video. And it was just absolutely hilarious. And that was kind of the start of it for you. But in the end,
that was the start. And I know for a fact that you remember our second single. I didn't know that there was going to be any more, but as we had a chart hit, Martin decided that we were going to do more songs together, and I was chuffed, you know. And so we come up with the idea of doing one about Matt Hancock, like and the Midazolam murders.
I'm going to say you can get away probably with saying it because it was released officially.
Matt the Cock, that was called. And you came to the studio back in those days, Claire, and did backing vocals.
Oh, no,
backing. So, and you've performed it with us live a few times as well, haven't you?
I think twice, not very well.
Is it twice? Yeah. So, and that was the second single, and it was that was the first time, though. Like you say, I can't sing for Toffee. But Martin had wrote those lyrics. He had used words that I would use, like granny and old folks home and stuff like that. And he had put it together in a song, and I had to actually try and sing. And that was the hardest time. That was the first time I had ever stood at a mic and actually tried to sing. So we had the most amount of fun. Martin had me at that all day long going, Matt, who killed Granny and the old folks, and I just couldn't get the tune. You know, I'm completely tone deaf, and I couldn't get the tune. But by the end of it, me and Martin have done a 10-song album together. So I'm like, well chuffed.
Faxi Taxi, that was about when you felt so frustrated that you couldn't reason or reach certain people, and they were on their 4th or 5th booster or something like that, and you said,
you know what, this is going to be a little bit naughty, but it's actually about my ex-wife's parents, my kids' nan and granddad. They're both in their 80s, and fair play to them. Listen, they've both had at least 7 or 8 jabs, and they're still alive and kicking. But it's like the mentality of them is now that they believe that they're only alive because they keep having the jabs. Yeah. And if they stop having the jabs, then they'll die. And I'm like, well, you've just made yourself like a catch-22 situation. So they're just going to keep taking the jabs now. I mean, they're both in their 80s. If they live to their 90s, you know, it could be another 10 years of taking these jabs because they believe they need them. And the song was a kind of tongue-in-cheek dig at my ex-in-laws, but that was fine because they never liked me even back then. So it was quite good.
I remember that video. You said if you want to get them so badly, I'll be the taxi and take you. Something.
I'll take you there, yeah, and I wouldn't even charge you.
And that's how Faxi Taxi came out.
Yeah. And it was mad. And back then, Claire, you know, like I was the other day, I was so angry. At like the COVID had been gone for years. You know, like people didn't even use that term anymore. Not widespread. And people were still going for like 10 injections. I'm like, what are you doing? So I'm like, if you want to get it, I'll just drive you there. You know, what the hell? I'll drive you there.
So back in the day, you were really full of conviction. You know, you went to the vaccine centres, you went to schools, you toured all over following the drag queen storytelling time in libraries, which was the video we just saw. That was you doing your own protest, wasn't it? That was you
in Parliament Square, yeah.
You know, you decided that all alone, while everyone else was marching on what you believe was a controlled march.
We stayed in Parliament Square.
Park yourself in the middle of the road. Where you simply got escorted out the way. Here's the thing.
They did warn me that if I didn't move, they'd arrest me. And I, like, the people around us were moving slowly. Like, there was about 300 or 400 of us in the road at one point, but it got down to like they had moved everyone off, and I was just standing there like the lone gunman, just stood there. And then they're like, "We're not having any more of this," and they manhandled me off the road. And it was quite funny because I said to that copper on my right, you can't hear the sound. I'm like, he's grabbed hold of me, and I'm like, oh, easy, Tiger, like as if he's grabbed my bum. And I said to him, didn't I see you at the gay bar last night? And he goes, that's a bit homophobic. And I'm like, hold on a minute, how is that homophobic that I just said that I went to a gay bar last night? How is that being homophobic? Like, I didn't get his logic. But I always had fun with the old Bill Clare. Like, I never argued with a copper. Only one time at one of the libraries, a young copper grabbed me up, and then I really lost my temper. But apart from that, I always deal with them with sarcasm and humour. And that's the best way. And even then, I was just being ironic with them and taking the mick.
Yeah.
Literally.
And then obviously you were in a band, and then you started going to all the festivals, the freedom festivals with like-minded people. You used your music in a sarcastic, funny way to try and reach people and gain awareness. So I want to ask you, what changed? What do you think from being involved in this? Well, as I said, you've been awake for 20 odd years, but you've been at the very beginning of this for the last 6 years. What has changed for you now?
You're
choosing your words carefully, aren't you?
yeah, absolutely. So the change has been coming for a while. I had a fairly popular channel, and with quite a few followers. Then I woke up one Saturday morning and I put the telly on, and it was about 3 years ago. It was after the vaccine rollout, and I put the telly on, and there was one of the controlled marches in London. But I saw that they had put a giant stage outside the BBC, and I saw that they had taken conservative politicians who were pushing the jab, and they're lauding them up like they were heroes, and BBC medical experts who said, oh, I've changed my mind now, and lauding them up like they were heroes. And I went Garrity, and that was the first, I really lost the plot. And I was shouting and screaming and ranting and raving, and I made videos abusing everybody. And like literally, I lost 10,000 followers that day. And because they were all lauding these people up. And I could see through it right back then. And here we are, we're like 2 or 3 years later. And then the Tommy Robinson stuff started and the hotel stuff. And I'm like, you people are not seeing the big picture. Like, and I'm banging my head against the wall. And then this latest one with the Tommy Robinson one, that's when I took a few weeks off. I come back, and now we've got the digital ID marches, and it's the same gang. It's the same gang that are leading the marches, that are on the stage again in London, putting their stage up. And I made a video the other day trying to explain to people, like, yeah, anyone can do a protest in London if you gain permission. You have to contact Westminster Council and the police and gain permission. If you want to put a stage up, you have to gain permission, which means if they don't want the stage, there won't be a stage. Yeah. It's that simple. Like, asking permission for something means that they have to grant you, which means they have to want it there. And if they say no, that's the end of that. You don't do it. We did a protest, and we hired a little truck that had screens on the back, you know. And it drove around. We had it driving around Parliament Square, and it cost us a few £100. And one of the girls from the East Grinstead stand in the park arranged it. She did a GoFundMe. And no sooner had that arrived in Parliament Square, it didn't stop. It was literally just driving around the square. Did it get nicked? The police, the old bill nicked it. Like, they're like, no, not having that, because it had a screen on the back, and the screen was putting out our message. And all it was a load of anti-vaxxers saying, I do not consent. And like, it's just thousands of people saying, I do not consent. And the police nicked it straight away. The driver got nicked, the truck got taken. And I'm like, So I know for a fact that if they don't want it, it won't be there. So every time, Claire, you see a screen in London, either by Tommy Robinson or anyone else, you know that is being sanctioned by the British government.
Yeah.
Because there's no other way that happens.
Do you remember?
And it says on the government website, you can protest, but you have to ask permission. And that was the thing with us. We never asked permission. So, you know, we didn't give them the opportunity to say no. But I am going to ask them permission if I can put a giant screen up in the Mall and do a Mad Mix Christmas concert. You know, invite all the friends that we've met from the festivals over the years, all the other bands, Victorious, Whom by Fire, all these people, Trevor John, Royal Milk Conspiracy, and do a big Christmas concert in the Mall and see if not the Mall, sorry, in Whitehall, and see if they'll let us do that. There's no point in me even writing the email because I already know what the answer is going to be.
I was going to say, do you remember last summer in Lloyd's Park in Croydon, where there was probably, about 30, 40 people, and it was just the stand in the park gathering with one little tiny gazebo because it was pouring with rain and one little speaker system, and the amount of police that were there, and they were literally shutting it down, and we were just sitting there in the park. It was like
absolutely. Which is why I know this. I know these things for a fact, Claire, and it's not that I'm guessing. It's that we have been there. You and I have been there. You know, we were in the park when the police come and shut us down because we had a tiny little speaker like that.
Yeah.
So when you look at the videos of London and you see those giant screens all the way down Whitehall, you know that it's government sponsored. You know that it's government sponsored. But the people in our movement, or it's not in my movement anymore because I wash my hands of it like Pontius Pilate. The people in the movement lord these people up like they're messiahs. They need to be led, you know, and they think that they're righteous because during the COVID days, I don't know if you remember back in the COVID days, BBC, ITV and Sky News, and then what the British government did is give the anti-vaxxers their own channel called GB News. And then everyone thought, oh, look, we've got our own channel. Oh, look, they're all saying what we want to hear. I'm like, you morons, you have no idea how controlled opposition works. How the hell do you get a TV channel in the middle of a scandemic?
Do you think it's basically what is called damage control? And you think that this is just distraction and it's to pacify us? Because we need to have somebody that we think is, or say we don't have one person, we have a multiple people all covering different things. We need these people to save us because we don't know what to do or we're too small to be able to do something. But do you kind of feel that maybe we're being led down a bit of a garden path right now? And now all that's happening is that everyone's just arguing amongst themselves.
Yeah, because look at what you said. Going back to the beginning of this conversation, you were talking about stand in the parks. Now, when the stand in the park started, Claire, I was in Kent. I met you guys at stand in the park, but I was in Kent. And back in those days, you weren't allowed to meet in groups of 6 or groups of 2 or whatever. We were meeting in groups of 30. We were breaking the rules. We were doing what they told us we couldn't do. And that was getting under their skin. They sent the police down, but like I said to them at Moat Park, there was in excess of 30 of us, maybe 50, and only about 6 coppers. And I said, listen, guys, you're going to have to get back up because there's no way you 6 are going to arrest all us 30 and we're not moving, you know. So we did what they told us we couldn't do. And a lot of people stood up in their jobs and said, no, I'm not taking this vaccine at all. And they stood up but then people felt the need they're standing up and refusing to do something. Like I've said with the digital ID, when they ask me to apply for it, I'll say, no, thank you very much. Don't want to apply for it. When they say we're going to put a quantum dot tattoo on your forehead, I'll say, no, thank you very much. I don't want one. When they say we're going to put a chip in your wrist, I'll say, no, thank you very much. I don't want one. but I can't stop them doing what they're gonna do. Like, and that was the big thing in the COVID days in 2020 when they told us we couldn't have Granny over for Christmas while they were partying. So what did we do? We had Granny over for Christmas. We carried on life as normal. And that was the resistance. That was the rebellion. Walking around London, yeah, it was fun. It was nice meeting people. It didn't change a damn thing.
Do you think that by having all of these protests, I mean, let's just excuse the hotel ones for now, but the ones that are in London at a weekend, do you think that it's just kind of more of a feel-good thing? So people
absolutely,
like
absolutely.
That when they go back home, they then don't do anything else.
Yes, because this is the thing. Like, and I'm not inciting violence by any stretch of anyone's imagination, right? When you have had enough of the people in charge, like say going back into World War II, the French resistance didn't march around the streets holding banners. That's not how the French resistance worked. The people of Northern Ireland, or rather the people of the Republic of Ireland, didn't fight the British by walking around the streets waving flags, you see. And there's a difference between, because like I said, they controlled every march forever. Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Just Stop Oil, you name it, you know, anti-vaxxers, digital ID, you name it. They've controlled every march ever. And it gives the people who don't agree with a certain narrative, and there's hundreds of narratives, you know, hotels, ULEZ, vaccines, you name it, there's 100 narratives. And it gives the people who support one of those or are against one of those the opportunity to feel like they're doing good, and they feel fuzzy in their stomach and the endorphins get released. Whereas in reality, they're not achieving anything. They put a speaker in London, they put a stage in London, and then like the Tommy Robinson one, because of health and safety, they couldn't burn the flags. But their simulation of burning flags was ripping flags up, you know, and that's what they were doing. They were inciting unrest by ripping Muslim flags up on the stage. And now it's just, I'm watching the people in power, and because I've been at it a bit longer than some people, like it would be saying, people say, oh, Mick, you're not doing anything. Mick, you've given up. Mick, you're a shield. Mick, you're on their side. I'm like, no, listen, right? I knew from back in the day when David Icke first started releasing his books, you know, I followed David Icke a lot back in the early days. George Carl, all these people, Bill Hicks, all these kind of people back in the day. I knew stuff, but I didn't overthrow the government. I didn't march around London. I didn't, because we've learned stuff, because we're more aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
People have got this idea in their head that they can affect change, you know, and the reality is you can't affect change. What you guys do in Biggin Hill is affecting change. There's no cameras in Biggin Hill because you guys have stopped it. You didn't stop the cameras in Biggin Hill, Claire, by walking around London shouting, we don't want cameras in Biggin Hill. We want our freedom. You didn't do that. That's not going to do it for you. What you did is you got out there, you got dirty, you got in the trenches, and you fought the good fight. And that is why there's no cameras in Biggin Hill. So, and all these people that think they're going to follow these government agents around London and that's going to stop anything are delusional. And that's why, Claire, I get so upset.
Yeah, so do you think there is a solution? Do you think, okay, let's just say it's would be in wildest dreams. Do you think there would actually be a solution that could change anything?
No, not at all.
You really don't?
No, not at all. What can happen, like what might happen is they might slow the rollout of the digital ID. They might say, and they've done it before, they've done it when Tony Blair was in power, when he tried to bring in photo ID then, and then we we didn't like the idea, so he just made the driving license photo ID. And they've got think tanks, Claire, that are years ahead of what we can imagine, and they've controlled every contingency. So although digital ID isn't great and no one wants it and no one wants to be followed, but like I made a video a while back, and I said to people on my channel, I said, if you've got such a problem with the people in power knowing where you are 24/7, then take your mobile phone that you're watching me on and flush it down the toilet.
I'll be
no
honest.
one's prepared to do that.
I'll be honest, we have nearly run out of time, but I just want to say, I do actually disagree with you there. I do disagree with the mobile phone, because the way I see the mobile phone is, yeah, I know we have Face ID on it and I know that we can track on it, but we're not at the point where everything in our phone is linked to one central hub where they can literally control us through the digital ID, through digital currency on a social credit scoring system. So that's where I disagree, because we're not at that point with our phones.
We're not at that point yet. No. And the mobile phone ain't that point. But the mobile phone, Claire, will tell them if they arrested you for something, then they already have the power to look at where your mobile phone was at that exact time. And if it was
yeah, I get that. But the difference is right now, they cannot stop us from buying something. They cannot stop us from getting in our cars and still driving. They can't stop us from buying fuel. Do you know what I mean? They can't restrict.
They can.
Well,
oh, absolutely they can. And this is the thing that people don't realise. Everything that people are afraid they're going to do, they can do. Like they can price meat so far out of our range that only the elites can afford meat, and all we can afford is bugs. They can do that tomorrow. They can price diesel so far out of our ability to afford to do it that all we can do is buy an electric car because we can't afford to pay for diesel. They can do that. They can stop me driving by banning my license. They can stop me leaving the island by putting a block on my passport. Everything that people are scared that they're going to do in the future, they can already do. Now, they can't do it to a degree. What everyone's scared about is that all the information you have, like there's a garden centre just down the road here. It tells you when you go in that they're looking at your face, they're using facial recognition, and then they're comparing it to the British government's criminal record reference base. And if you've got a record for shoplifting, your face, before you've even taken your phone out or done anything, all you've done is get out of your car, your face has told the garden centre if you've got a criminal record. And that's today, before they bring in digital ID.
Wow.
So you imagine that they're already doing this. The digital ID, yes, they're going to take your criminal record, they're going to take your medical record, they're going to take your bank records and all this stuff that is already on computer and put it in one place. And it can be hacked. Yes, it can be hacked, but they can hack any one of them. A hacker can hack. That's what they do. But the thing is, the fear of them saying, oh, you can't do this, is what is driving this. I don't want digital ID. When the reality is, to really stop digital ID, you're going to have to wear a mask 24/7. Because the digital ID will be linked to your face.
How about the infrastructure, though? Because the technology is ready, but the infrastructure is not complete.
That's what the 5G tower is all about. All these morons telling you that the 5G towers were going to kill you. I've said from day one, it's never about killing us. It was about controlling us. And they've always had the ability to control us. But the more technology comes in, gives them more ability to control us. Like your landlord of a pub, Claire, he knows that his staff are nicking out the till. So first of all, we don't want his staff nicking out the till. So he puts cameras over the bar, right? Filming his staff so they can't nick out of the till. But that ain't working. So what does he do? He goes card only. If there's no cash in the till, his staff can't nick out the till. The government are absolutely no different. They know that give me the opportunity to earn cash in hand and I will earn cash in hand. give my mechanic the opportunity not to charge VAT or pay his tax on it, he will do it. And that's what they want to stop. So they want to stop us living the lives of the perceived freedoms that we have. I used to work security clear in the clubs. We never saw the tax man, you know what I mean? That was, you know, backhander, end of story. That's all gone. Them days are all gone and they're going. And I get the people that work cash in hand do not want them days to come. I don't want those days to come.
Well,
I don't want those days to come. But can I stop them from coming?
Yeah. We have
Can you stop the landlord of the pub going cashless?
Mick, we've run out of time, and I know we could talk forever. I know.
Don't get me started. When I come on next time, I've got even more for you.
I know. And the thing is I understand everything you're saying, and but I'm ever the optimist, and
You are.
I know I am, and I feel that I win the, I'm not winning the war, but I'm winning small battles, and that is with direct action. So I do feel that we are fractured, in terms of what was a movement. I can see why you feel so deflated, because I do feel that a lot of us are being led down garden paths. I do feel that there is a lot of distraction, and my personal feelings on it is I feel that everyone could be more proactive in lots of ways and with direct action if they only form teams in their own communities. And if every single community did that around the country, we might actually achieve more. That's my optimism. But yeah, Mick, I'm going to have to say goodbye to you. And I want to thank you for coming on and for being honest. We can definitely always count on Mick for being very, very honest. He's toned it down just a little bit, just for me today. But you can always catch him on Mad Mick's Conspiracies, where he will give you a full rant. But I still feel that conversations like this do matter, even if we do disagree. And as Mick said, we do disagree. I don't agree with everything he says all the time. And because it's not, everyone isn't always going to agree. And I do feel that time will have a way of revealing what's real beneath the surface. I mean, 6 years on, the noise hasn't quietened, and if anything, there's so much more of it, and sometimes it's quite overwhelming. More distraction, more confusion, and perhaps, as we said, more people being led down the garden path than ever before. Along the way, we've also witnessed familiar patterns that follow any challenge to the status quo: damage control, the presence of controlled opposition, and individuals who are positioned to infiltrate movements and erode them from within. And I do feel that has been happening over the last 6 years. And combined then with internal divides, these forces have literally fractured momentum, blurred our intentions, and made discernment so much harder for those simply seeking truth and autonomy. This wasn't about rewriting history or settling scores. It was about perspective, or trying to put things into perspective, about pausing, looking back, and asking what lessons are worth holding on to as we move forward. And hopefully, I think we should move forward. I think we can move forward. So I want to thank everyone watching and for taking the time to listen today and to listen to Mick. I'm Claire Dyer. This has been Dyer Consequences on Unprecedented TV. Please don't forget to like, share, and more importantly, subscribe, please. Thank you.